Actually, if you can just see if it's live, that'd be great.
Good, Pam?
I think so, just checking.
Winter Hall. All right, let's give me most of it. I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Hand,
Yes.
Keith Gordon, Beth Evans, here, Don Baker,
Here.
Fred Rusidor,
Here.
Josh Shannon,
Present.
Eric Knapp.
Here. If we can all stand and say the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's not live yet. Sorry.
Not live yet.
Yep. Nine 40815. I thought we had it because the more button at the bottom wasn't working. It says it's live on YouTube.
We didn't say it. Any state, which is 545. Yeah. Just takes my phone out.
I'm all set. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, bye. All set, guys.
All right, now that we're live, call. Moving on to person's address board, we have one person, Mr. Tom, I'd like to address the board. Go ahead, Tom.
Here, how do you like it?
Yeah, that's fine, you're fine.
Okay. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tom Hutchison. I live in Angelica. I'd like to start by saying, whoever put me at the top of the list, thank you.
That's where we, they all go.
Okay, but when I leave here, I can get right back up to my JV game, so.
Absolutely.
It's good. My concern is, and not just my own parents I've talked to, deals with modified boys soccer. We originally were wondering why they were split, 7th grade one team, 8th the other. Most of us think it would be better if they were mixed together, not into one team, but leaving it as 2 teams is fine. As of Saturday, talking to the coaches, there was going to be a meeting today, I believe. Mr. Brockway, Mr. Schmidt, I think Wendy Butler was gonna come over. She's the superintendent for Belfast. I don't know if that happened. If it did, you guys might be able to fill me in and it might be done fairly quick here.
Did the meeting happen?
Yeah, the meeting happened.
Okay.
And exactly what we talked about Friday is exactly what's moving forward.
And that's having some 8th graders to move down to.
Absolutely.
Okay,
They're working the schedule out now.
in the same capacity as with like 3 7th graders moving up, the number is 3 going down.
I'm not sure about the total numbers, but that's the plan, is that they'll work those students to move down. They'll change based upon the week and the game. And I know they reached out to parents, trying to accommodate parents on the parents' schedule to try to make sure that this is accommodated to as possible. And then we're going to continue to move forward.
So that was the biggest thing. Another reason why I decided to go ahead and stop in. And talks with Mr. Schmidt, and I've had a conversation with Tim and Wendy, all different conversations, all agreed that maybe having another avenue of some sort. I know Tim had told me 3 of the 4 members, I think Buddy and Don maybe were part of that 3, we're gonna get with the other 3. Last time I talked to you, you tried, it didn't happen, has that,
Yeah, we weren't able to get together.
and that hasn't happened at all yet.
We meet regularly. This
Okay.
last meeting had to be canceled.
Okay. How often do you?
I don't know, what we say?
We didn't
Towards the,
really set a
towards the
calendar yet.
end of this, we haven't calendared it
Couple
yet,
weeks under.
because we're dealing with different people's jobs and that, so
Okay.
usually we try to meet before and after each season, so we'll be meeting before the end of soccer season.
Okay, 'cause we talked about another avenue where maybe parents could be involved with that, even students, a lot like the meet the coach meeting that was about that, some, along those lines, that, a format like that is fine. Just somewhere where there's, another avenue where it can be more communication.
Right.
That's, something that talking to parents, that would be something that would be, I think many would be interested in. I don't know what you're doing now, if that's just, it's just always just you guys, or people are invited to that, I don't know.
I think
How you do it now, but.
not to that this will answer any of or all of your questions, but being that this is so new, we're learning as we go. And we're
Absolutely.
learning that we may have to meet more often. We are learning that we may have to communicate in different ways than what we normally communicate. As we go forward, hopefully it will get better. Hopefully basketball goes better than soccer. Hopefully baseball and softball go better than basketball. So each season, as we get through this, hopefully it will go smoother. Parents will hear things before they're implemented. That kind of stuff will get out there in a more timely manner.
And parents I've talked to agree, we all know this is, it's a new venture, everything's brand new, like you said. So the more communication, more parents can be involved with you guys, I think that it would be positive. If possible. I guess kind of where I'm at with that.
Like I said, and we welcome the concerns. But it's a matter of following that chain. If you have a concern, going through the coach and then the athletic director, and then usually Ms. Donnelly for us, their principal over there, Dr. Schmidt, and then bring it to the board as the last result. But I think by the sounds, what you were looking for is being accomplished.
All right, yeah, it was, a separate committee, so, you can go there first, with the sports related issues instead of having to come here first.
Right.
I might get to here, but that might be another avenue where you can start there.
Yeah.
And like I said, parents would like to have a voice if possible.
Okay.
For sure. That's all I got.
Okay, I appreciate you coming, Toma. I know we've talked a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and we may not always agree, but we always seem to work it out. If you have any more concerns,
Yeah, I'll be around. I'll be in touch.
I can figure, all right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Moving on, presentations to the board, I have 3 here, and being that, I think it's Justin, right? Is sitting there looking at us so patiently, I'll let you get on with it, Justin. From Buffamati Whipple and Buffaro with our external audit.
Hey, good evening. So I believe Aaron provided you with our graph analysis. It's labeled. So we're going to be going through that report. I'm going to share my screen here. Oh, looks like screen sharing has been disabled for me.
See, where is this here? I was looking for, there it is. Yep. Okay, try that again, please.
Okay.
There we are.
See my screen? Perfect. All right, so this is our graph analysis. This is what we're going to walk through. It's kind of a more high-level view of your numbers and some of the reports. And feel free to ask any questions and interrupt me if you can, and I'll try to accommodate. So the first section of this is the independent auditor's report. So the whole point of us coming out and doing our audit is to provide this opinion report. And this is a clean, unmodified opinion. So this great job to Erin and her staff. This is the type of report you want. There was only one thing I will add this year. If you look at the letter, there is a new paragraph, and all schools are getting this, and it's related to the implementation of a new governmental accounting standard. So it's nothing new to you guys. It's not that, it's going to be on your letter and no one else's. Every, governmental audit across the nation will have, a paragraph on that on their opinion letter. So then we also provide two other reports. The first one is because you're a government entity, we provide government auditing standards report, internal control and compliance. And there are two findings on this report. They are the same findings we've been giving for a few years now. The first one is on internal controls over financial reporting. And that is the adjusting journal entries and the preparation of the financial statements. So, we play a big role in putting together those financial statements. And that's why you get that finding. And, we've couched that as a significant deficiency, which when compared to the two levels of finding is the lesser of the two. And really the only reason you're getting that finding is because we prepare the financial statements. The number of journal entries we make compared to other districts is rather minimal, and the amount of work we have to do to adjust your numbers to get into this position to present the financials are rather minimal, but we do provide quite a bit of assistance in putting together the financials. So that is why that was there. And actually, I wanted to, I'll take the time, this year we kind of, asked a lot of Erin, Genesee Valley really stepped up and helped our firm out and provided their numbers very early so that we could kind of utilize that to train some staff and go through and show them how to audit a school district. And we thought Genesee Valley was a good, guinea pig to use that for. You guys are, relatively clean. You get your stuff to us in a timely fashion. So, that's really just a commendation of Erin and her staff and about how accommodating they are and getting us their stuff as early as possible and how clean it is.
Contracts up
The second
month.
The second one, compliance, that is related to the 4%. As you guys know, the 4% rule of the next year's fund balance, you've had this finding for a number of years. It's a compliance issue that we have to report. I believe you're at around 6% at this point. So you're not too far over it, but you've kind of made the choice to keep your fund balance levels over that. And then the third letter we are required to provide you is related to the single audit, and it's called the Report on Internal Controls and Compliance over Uniform Guidance. And this is because you received $650,000 or $750,000 of federal monies or over, and we tested school lunch fund and noted no issues here. So there's nothing to report on the single audit. Everything was clean with regards to that. So then we'll get into some numbers, and I might skip a few slides here. So there's some good information if you want to look at some of the detail behind it, but I'm going to talk kind of high level on some of the graphs here. So this first section is the GASB 34. This is your government-wide, district-wide financial statement. So this is kind of on a consolidated basis, bringing everything together: the school lunch fund, the capital, the general fund. So overall, your assets are actually down on this level. That's a lot of that is driven by depreciation of capital assets. You depreciated a lot more than you added this year. So that kind of drove your assets down. Liabilities and deferred inflows of resources are also down, about 1.2 million. That is a few things: bond payments, some fluctuation in OPEB and pension liabilities. Just to mention here, you don't see it very well here because they kind of netted to a very minimal change, really, when you look at your district wide. But the TRS pension liability, last year was an asset. This year it is almost a liability of pretty close to the same amount. So it kind of flip flopped the way it went, and that's just due to the timing of those actuary studies and when they get those pension plans audited. The other side of it, ERS, so your non-teacher, that liability actually decreased quite a bit. They're 99.95% funded this year. So that those two items, they really almost washed with each other. They're very minimal change when you look at your balance sheet for those two. And then your net position, it went up a little bit. You had on the GASB, because of some of those fluctuation and changes, you had an overall good year. About $300,000 increase to your net position on the district-wide statements. So your expenses, your program revenue, things like that. The debt service is really what's driving this expense line here. You had some bands that are now bonds that have a little bit less interest requirement, so that helped drive that. That was offset some by an increase in your TRS expense related to that pension liability becoming a liability this year when it was an asset last year. Your program revenue is up about $100,000. There's a number of things going into that. Some of it is food service fund drove some of it, and also some of your CARES funding or pandemic funding, COVID-19. It's actually the CRRSA Act. That one is, added quite a bit there. Your general revenue is up, and that's federal sources. So again, your CARES Act money, some of it is in that bucket because it was recorded in the general fund. And then the other thing that kind of helped you there, your taxes just generally increased there. Overall change in that position, your change in that position, like I said, it was up just a little bit, which you can see last year, that purple line is actually below zero. So, you went from a loss to a gain. So now let's talk about the general fund, more of the day-to-day. Your total assets are up quite a bit. It's all, for the most part, in cash. It was offset a little bit due to other funds, due from other funds decreasing. Your total liabilities is up just a little bit, 116,000. That is due to other funds. So you had some amounts owed to other funds that drove that increase a little bit. And then your fund equity is up, that's good operations. So you made about $768,000 in the general fund at the end of the year. It was kind of a difficult year for districts to budget, and they weren't sure with the 20% take back when you're budgeting last year. There's a lot of uncertainty of how the pandemic would shake out, and there's a lot of uncertainty going into the next few years. But for the current year, it kind of worked out to be a strong year. You made about $700,000 in the general fund. So then I'm going to go to your revenues. This is page 14 at the bottom. So your revenues of the general fund are up about 184,000, mostly due to CARES. There are some fluctuations up and down in some other accounts, but the CARES fund really helped your general fund from the revenue side. Your expenditures are down quite a bit, $747,000. Most of this, you made a transfer last year to the capital of about $550,000. This year you made a transfer for only $100 due to the capital outlay. So that $450,000 decrease there helped the general fund quite a bit when compared to the prior year. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, your debt service interest costs were down, and that also helped drive that decrease in the expenditures in the general fund. So then I think I'm going to jump to the graphs here. So these next two slides are a couple nice graphs that kind of show your equity and your revenue and expense. And I jumped a slide ahead, I think. I'm trying to get back there. For some reason, it does not want to show the slide that compares your revenues and expenses for me. I don't know if you're seeing it. Oh, there it is. Okay, slide 19 here. So you can see how close your revenues and expenses were each of the last 3 years. And this year you can see that gain of $700,000, that increase to your line. So that blue line, the revenue outpaced the expenditure line by quite a bit. And then you can see how that bottom line, the annual surplus or deficit, kind of affects your equity. So your equity, you've been hovering around the $6 million range for a few years now, and you jumped up over that this year, and it's really due to those strong operations. So the food service fund. Getting a little feedback or delay here on my end. So page 22, it's not showing up on my screen, but I know you have it in front of you, so I'll just talk about it. You'll look at this page and you have two lines that are jumping up quite a bit: your total assets in your food service fund and your total equity. Really, this is due to strong operations in the food service fund related to COVID meals. Pretty much all of that increase in total assets is in cash, and most of the increase in the equity is because of those strong operations. Obviously, you're just adding to equity. Your revenues are up about $36,000. So during the COVID pandemic, you were able to serve meals at 100% free. And then also you're getting a higher rate for those meals. So most of the time during the school year, you're utilizing the national breakfast and lunch programs. Well, during COVID, you were able to use the summer food service program, which, for a comparison, last year in the school lunch program, you were getting $3.50 per meal. This year, for the first half of the year, you're getting $4.15. In the second half, you're getting $4.32. So, 60 and an 80% increase on the rates you were getting in previous years. And that's really what drove this, because you'll see, I'll go to the next slide. I want to talk about expenditures are actually down a little bit, and expenditures are down. You had increased revenues of 36,000, but you actually served fewer meals. So your 2021, you served about 10,000 fewer lunches than the year before. 1920, you served 77,000 lunches. This year, you served about 67,000. And same with breakfast. You served about 71,000 in 1920. 2021, you served about 67 again. So $4,000 or 4,000 meal decrease in breakfasts. So you were able to make more money despite the fact that because of those reimbursement rates, despite the fact that you're serving less meals and had fewer costs going out. So, just banner years for the last couple of years for the school lunch fund, which, we'll see how long it lasts. I know they've already kind of changed how they're doing the COVID meals this year, and we'll see how that shakes out. So you can see here, in 2019, actually, your revenues and expenditures matched each other, and that's because you made a transfer to zero out your fund. So the general fund had to support the food service fund a little bit. Well, in 2020, you made $50,000 at the end of the year and didn't have to support the fund at all. 2021, you made $80,000 and didn't have to support the fund at all. You can see how that's driving this, your total fund equity over there up. You're sitting at about just under $140,000 at this point in equity, all because of the last 2 years of positive operations. Special aid fund, not too much to go over here. Your state revenue dropped a little bit. That's your extended day program and your universal pre-K programs had a slightly smaller allocation this year compared to last year. Your federal revenues were up some. That's really because of the ARP funds and the CRRSA funds, which are the second and third round of CARES money that's coming through related to the COVID pandemic. The final kind of thing to talk about are our management letter. So these are items that we don't think rise to the level of a finding. So we don't want to communicate them in a finding section, but they're things we just think, need to be brought to the forefront. We should have a discussion about them. Some of them, like letter A under general comments, is just kind of keep on the lookout. There's another governmental accounting standard coming out next year called Accounting for Leases. You'll have to evaluate your leases. We're under the impression that unless a school has some large leases, it shouldn't affect the school districts too much. And then letter B, that one was, when we were auditing your files, we did notice that the capital project that you just wrapped up over the last few years actually ended up at about a $2,000 deficit. So just a little bit overspent, nothing severe. So we put it in here just, that in 21, 22, that deficit and that fund balance should be cleaned up, which I think Aaron already took care of. And then the other comment for the extra classroom funds is related to student involvement. So there is one fund that you guys have that we know is kind of, it's called a reserve fund that you have over there. The whole kind of point of the extra classroom funds is to have, to give students an opportunity to serve on a board like you guys are and, vote on things and determine how to spend money and be a part of that. And that project or that fund itself doesn't really have student involvement. So we just pull it out and let you know that, really it doesn't fit what the extra classroom activity funds are trying to accomplish. So any questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Sure, go ahead.
Now you said revenues are mainly going up because of COVID-19 and strong operations. Could you just elaborate a little more on that?
Well, so COVID-19, what's really happening here is, a lot of your expenditures that schools are utilizing for that are expenditures that you've kind of already had in the past. You're utilizing it for teacher salaries and the other things like that. So it's really offsetting some pre-existing expenditures. Now, there are increased expenditures related to, PP&E equipment, things like that, extra cleaning. But those expenditures, what we've been seeing at most districts, haven't risen to the level that you're receiving, obviously, with regards to COVID funding, whether it's CARES or the CRRSA or the ARP funding that just came through. So really, it's you're getting some funds that are offsetting some of those, and then also I think a lot of districts kind of anticipated cutting back on costs a little bit because of the 20% budget reduction that they were warned was coming, and then that didn't happen. So, you kind of kept spending down a little bit. A lot of districts did, and thinking you were going to have 20% reduction in your state aid, and that didn't come to fruition. So, that really helped.
Thank you.
Does that answer it then?
Yeah, it does.
Any other questions for Justin? Yeah.
I just want to thank Aaron and
Yeah,
his team, as always, they do a
absolutely.
phenomenal job here managing our funds. And this year was even more challenging because of providing the documentation for this remotely and earlier than usual. So as always, Aaron, Brittany, Devin do a phenomenal job of making sure all the documentation goes forward and that we are financially sound. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your strong operation.
It's great that you can dumb it down for me.
Well, thank you. And thank you to Erin and her crew. We tried something a little different this year to allow some of our newer staff, rather than throwing them into something in a few weeks where they'd be working and kind of on the fly training. We thought, let's try to do a hands-on training with our staff. And, she really came through for us. And we kind of warned her that it was coming and asked her made sure she was comfortable with it. And she didn't bat an eye. She said, sure. And, they really came through and provided us everything we needed in a timely fashion. So we didn't have people sitting around waiting for something. It was really, I think, a really great exercise for our staff. So we really appreciate that. And it's a testament to Aaron.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would agree with what Justin said. I think we certainly appreciate all the efforts and, recognize the difficulties that schools, not only programmatically, obviously a lot of changes and shifts but also financially, as Justin mentioned. I think, you know, all last year, we were under the premise that there was going to be a 20% withhold. And so school districts were really playing it safe with a lot of tremendous unknowns. And then the rescue plan, you know, came out, and we were hopeful that we might be a part of it. And then eventually the state, you know, in the last couple months kind of gave us the good news as to what the 21-22 year would look like. And then also told us that that 20% withhold was not going to happen. So, you know, just a very difficult, just tremendous amount of unknowns for the current year. And, you know, again, I think just a really nice audit. And again, I think it's a testament to everyone. So great job.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate everything.
Thank
Have a
you.
great
Have a
night.
good night.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right. They got themselves out. Okay. Next up, Ms. Campbell on the RAM clinic.
Stand, is that okay if I stand?
Yeah, you're fine.
You pass. Everybody is. Put it on. Do you mind if I just stand over here?
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah. Let's see. There you go.
Microphone's right here, so.
So Dr. Schmidt had asked me to come and share the project that I've been working on for the past 2 years. We are excited to host a free medical clinic on Columbus Day weekend next month. And for those that haven't really heard too much about this, I'll go back 2 years ago, just the process of how we got them to come.
Heard it on the radio station just yet.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Nice.
Good. I know Jeff's doing his job then. So they, it was presented at a BOCE's meeting, remote area medical. They came to Olean back in 2017. They have a board of director that lives or goes to UB. He's a physician up there, and they wanted to bring the clinic back to our region. So I did the application process. I went to a clinic myself down in Youngstown, Ohio, just to see how everything works and what this was that Dr. Schmidt got me signed up to do. So they chose us, which is really an honor that they have selected our Allegheny County as a place where they're going to provide these free services. They travel the country. They go to 35 different states offering free medical, dental, and vision services. They also have a veterinary clinic as well, providing free services for animals. So we're just doing medical here. And the clinic, it's directed to anybody that can make their way to campus. It's not just for district residents, it's for all ages. It's for the underinsured, those with high deductibles, anybody that can make their way to the school site. So coming up on Friday, October 8th, RAM will be coming to campus and starting to move in their equipment. And Saturday morning we'll open up at 6 a.m. We'll go all day. Patients can start arriving as early as midnight. We'll go through the registration process, and then we'll close down for the night and reopen again at 6 a.m. on Sunday. And that day is a little bit shorter. They close around 1 o'clock or so, 2 o'clock. So within the clinic itself, our large gymnasium will be turned into a dental suite. We'll have 20 dental chairs. Stony Brook University out of New York City has offered to come and fulfill all of the chairs, so we will not need any local dentists, which several have come to volunteer, which is great. SBOSH, which is a student service chapter out of SUNY Optometry in New York City, they have come and they filled our vision center. So these students are getting practicum hours while volunteering here too. So we'll have 6 vision lanes, and that will be in the auditorium. With the lights dimmer, it's much better for them. And then the medical will be in the small gym. The medical will be anything from women's health screenings, minor laboratory work. If folks need X-rays, behavioral health, mental health counselors will be there, pediatricians will be there, cardiologists. So a wide variety of medical folks are coming and volunteering their time. We have folks that are signing up from Washington State to travel to Genesee Valley for this weekend. All over the country, people are registering, as well as many local too, which is great. So the past several months has been focusing on getting all of the volunteers to come and to give their time, to give their weekend to come and serve our county and the patients that make their way to campus. And then we are looking at 400 patients. 400 to 500 is our big number that we're hoping for. And you'll start hearing more radio ads, and you'll start hearing more people hopefully talk about it and seeing some flyers up. I have a great leadership team. Erica's been on there for the summer too. Jennifer Ross, she is a Alfred State nursing instructor. She's taken the lead on recruitment, as well as John Lewis from Alfred University. He's helping us to get some student organizations to come and volunteer their time. And then Jeff Babbitt's been awesome with promotions. He knows what he's doing, and I don't have to ask him to do anything twice. Like, he's wonderful. The cost of the clinic was about $16,000 to $20,000. That's what we were thinking, and I was able to raise $23,000 this week to cover the full costs. Within that budget, we're looking to feed all of the volunteers breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. We have to house them for 2 days, and there are the core staff that will travel in and stay with us for staying in Cuba. And then biohazard pickup, malpractice insurance, the promotions was a big financial piece as well. And a lot of that came from grants, and then also asking community members and organizations to offer some sort of in-kind donation. And it's been really well received so far. Am I missing anything? Any points or?
I just want to add, this is my knowledge. We are the first public school in New York State to do something like this at the local level. And I'm really excited about the opportunity and the services we're going to be able to provide to our community members for free. We know that healthcare is a major concern for many families, and the amount of care that they would be able to get, they will take advantage of. Well, I want to commend Ann. She's done a phenomenal job of organizing, getting a group of people committed, fundraising, communicating around this. When one of our charges as leaders in the district is to be a community hub, and I can't think of something that really corresponds correctly to that goal, and being able to provide these types of services for our community. So if you have the opportunity to share it, please do and talk about it. And hopefully this will be something we do every other year going into the future to be able to continue to serve.
JCC had so they came to Olean over the course of this past weekend, and they had a great turnout. I can't wait to get their final numbers. It was, if you were able to volunteer your time or just stop in for a few hours, it's a very humbling experience. And folks that are needing that type of service, they're putting themselves out there to identify that they need, dental cleanings or something that they can't afford. So over the course of the weekend, when I left at 6 p.m. in Olean, there was a woman that just arrived from Delaware, the state of Delaware. She drove to park in her car overnight with her daughter to get dental services because she just can't afford them. Other people that were showing up that were wearing glasses that weren't even their prescription, it was their friend's prescription because they had lost their glasses and couldn't afford a new pair. And people that just had never seen clearly because they can't afford it. If you can volunteer, they're setting up on Friday, and it took 8 hours to set the clinic up. It's really detailed. There's so much that goes into it. I learned so much about dental tools. It was unbelievable. So I'd love to see you there. And if you can, share this information if you're a part of a network too, on the radio. At the community schools page, you can print off these flyers. You can download them and print them. But my goal over the next couple of weeks is to go door to door to doctors' offices and handing them and having conversations with our doctors. Mosaic Health, who does the dental program here, they said that their wait list for new clients is 500. So they're going to help refer services. I would love for you, so I can give you a couple of them if you want. Yep. So it's just getting the trust in the community is the biggest thing. We're not trying to sell them on anything. And I think that's going to be a big barrier, but with JCC having their clinic, I think that also helped us and gave us an upper hand where
Sure.
people hear about it, they're like, wait, what was this?
Yeah.
How can I get services again? So, yeah, any questions?
Just talk about health department.
Yes, I've been working with Tyler and Teresa, and they're gonna be offering COVID vaccinations. We're also gonna have a flu clinic on site and a blood drive.
While you're here, do you want to share our plans for the vote vaccine?
Sure, so the vote and vax, we'll have that again this year on November 2nd on Tuesday with the vote at the flu vestibule. Wegmans Pharmacy will be coming in again, doing their flu vaccinations. They'll have there's the 2 versions that they can offer. I believe it's 6 months and up. And then I'm also having a faculty, and if they have their children in the school and they want to get flu shots that day, some prefer to do that. We'll have one in October as well. So we can offer that. And then we've got our first blood drive on Friday of this week. We've got 6 for the whole school year, 6 or 7 for the whole school year. And having so many of them, they give us a $500 scholarships for students. This one's not gonna be mobile. We're gonna be in the auditorium, which will allow for more donations. People can come in.
Yep.
So, and then our dental cleanings will start up after the clinic. They're gonna come in, I believe, in November. Their scheduling is all over and.
Are they using the space in the back?
Right now, they are not. Because we have.
Okay.
You are art institutions.
Gotcha. Yep.
But she's aware that she's gonna be just relocated for the time that they come to campus, so.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice presentation.
Welcome.
Thank you for all your hard
Very
work.
done, like the food pantry and that, those people, because
Yep,
I was trying to think, or like Wellspring Ministries, that kind of stuff.
yep, Harry Potter, she sent that to all of her food
Yeah.
pantries. And tomorrow morning, I'm going over to Richburg to present to all of the librarians out of our county. So the 18 libraries, they're gonna be giving out the posters and offering their services to get the word out there too. And Dr. Casas, our medical director, he's on board and he's gonna volunteer that weekend too,
That's awesome.
which is great.
He's awesome.
He's the best. He really is. If you have questions, let me know. Let me know.
Great work.
All right,
Thanks, Ann.
thank you.
Thank
Yeah, I can leave this file here, and then I have more in Jeff Babbitt's office on his desk if Dr. Schmidt wants to break in. Okay, thanks, guys. Have a great night.
You too. Thanks, Ann. The next thing we need to discuss is the Jaguar purchase and return and where we're heading now.
Yes, so you have pictures in your board packet of kind of what we were looking, what the classes, and I want to kind of give you a little history. There were multiple classes that were saving and putting forward their money towards a statue of a Jaguar. And then we would recognize those classes as making the donation of a Jaguar. And so we ordered the Jaguar in June, what we thought was a Jaguar, and frankly, it came in as a Cougar. And it just really didn't meet our standard. And so there was some conversations about how they could fix it. One of the capital recommendations was they would take it back and paint spots on it and put it outside. And we did not necessarily feel that was the best way to move forward. And so I want to credit Miranda Hempel, who's put a lot of time and energy and effort into this. And it certainly had a lot of stress around this, which we tried to assure her that we are going to support her through this. But given the public nature of this, I wanted you to take a gander at these. I don't believe any of them have been selected. What I would say to you is your feedback as to, do we want to continue to go in this direction with the bronze Jaguar? Do you have a preference about what's listed there? You see the rock, the first picture is what they're looking at mounting the Jaguar on. Then there are multiple pictures, the next two pictures of Jaguars. Any thoughts?
Are the first two, the rock, or are the first two about the same? The Jaguar with the
There's a
box?
very subtle difference.
Yeah, and then
between the
there's,
two.
okay, I see it.
And again, it's tough looking at these through an image, right? We recognize
Did we order dark brown?
that is my understanding, that's the color of the bronze. It's a bronze statue. So I don't know the answer.
What are your thoughts?
I don't know the answer. Is there an ability to change the color of it? To be honest with you, Don,
Now, that-
It's not, Jaguars aren't brown.
Right.
It's kind of a simple.
Yeah, and I agree. To it, I know what they're doing and you, I mean,
You
to
can't
paint bronze,
you
you
can't paint
can't,
bronze.
yeah. And to get something like, if you walk in the main entrance of the Wellsville School,
But they can paint
they've got
spots.
that big lion in the front of the school inside, but it's also, I think, plastic, porcelain, something where you couldn't leave it outside,
Right.
it's painted.
Well, we kind of committed to this now that we've already sunk money into it.
there's a minimal commitment. Let me put it this way. There's money in this. We're gonna work this through to be what we want it to be.
Yeah.
I'll be frank, I'm not concerned about the commitment that's been made so far. As far as, we are gonna move forward in a direction. That's it.
Yeah, I
Into
just-
anything.
I personally think it's not that, kind of goofy looking.
I can't hear you.
It's goofy looking.
Goofy looking.
Yeah.
The bronze.
I don't like the bronze is kind of different.
Well, bronze statue is bronze, and, you know,
Yeah.
so I think irregardless of the actual color of the animal, I guess that'd be all right, but this one with, the paw is kind of weird.
Yeah,
The last one,
Well, the last one is kind of.
That's the cougar up here.
yeah.
Well, I thought the first one was the cougar.
How big is this thing?
Yeah, like 4 foot.
That's a good question. I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen it in person, so I don't.
It goes a 16-inch block behind it.
yeah, right.
You got,
So it's like,
Only
One,
the,
two,
the
three, four.
4.5.
Four and a
building
half.
trades guy. Look at
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
that is a big,
That's 6 foot.
Yeah, that's a big statue.
It's not small, nor is it light, should I say.
I was gonna say, that's gotta be
Yeah, I don't-
heavy.
Oh,
And I think the
yeah.
other part is, I'll be honest with you, and Sarah, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Well, I don't know what the discussions about where we were going to put this, that been decided?
Yeah, where is, that's the other,
So, I believe the last location discussion was by the pool, the door, the pool vestibule door where it kind of is a V. There was some shrubbery there and the discussion was taking that out the pedestal, so it's right there at that back
will it be
door.
covered?
So did-
I don't think
Well,
so.
No, I thought it would be outdoors.
Yeah.
This bronze will tarnish. I mean,
Yeah,
it'll
well,
turn,
the green like copper?
it'll turn, yeah, like a greenish brown. It'll get brownish.
Yeah,
So,
And similar to some of the schools, they have like the kids. You
Yeah.
know, like Friendship has the kids and
Yeah.
Silo.
so that's what it'll turn real dark. It's what, eventually.
Are these choices, these pictures?
I
think they're just options.
They're options, and what I wanted to get for Miranda and for us is just feedback from the board about, is this a direction we want to continue to head? And if this is not, or do you want us to say, hey, look at some alternatives? That's really what I'm looking to get from your feedback as a board. And because ultimately, you're the ones who are gonna get the phone calls who say that I really don't like the Jaguar statue, or that's not a Jaguar, it's a cougar, or
right.
it's red when it should be green, or it's goofy.
Well,
Right. I mean, I like.
It's not
I don't
a
know.
true representation.
No.
So that's why I'm bringing it.
I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it should be going. That's kind of what I'm getting out of that.
Yeah. Like, the idea of the first one, which is looking kind of fierce, like I'm a competitor, you know, if we could find a Jaguar that looks something like that, but no, like, not like.
Yeah. That's where
I'm with you. The last one, I thought was a kangaroo when I first saw it.
You know what? I studied to be a superintendent. I did not anticipate this type of conversation.
It's goofy.
Aren't you glad I ran?
Amen. Yeah, well, absolutely I am.
From 11.
Well, it's just.
No,
I guess I'm at the point where I think
We could explore other options, maybe.
as exploring other options, and I think it's up to all of us to.
Yeah, and
look out there.
I'm not trying to
No, I know.
completely crap all over it,
It's a
but
big
I just,
world.
I don't know.
What are other kind of options for that? I mean, like.
I don't know.
Right,
Something
we-
color, I think something with color. would be nice.
Looks like on the wall, right? Yeah.
Well, not, it doesn't have to be,
Well, I
you
mean,
can't go and shoot
Yeah.
one and put it out there, Fred. That's just not gonna happen. He already volunteered to go to South America. He's like, "Oh, well,
money you're spending, I know. Bring it back to the overhead.
yeah."
You know, if I go back to Miranda and I say, Miranda, the board has recommended that we send Fred on a hunt. And we bring back a real Jaguar.
It might be cheaper.
Well, if you can bring it back alive or put it in a cage, the kids can feed it.
No.
But, in all sincerity,
Yeah,
I'm happy to go back there and say, look, are there other options that we can look at? And then kind of go from there. What I don't want to do is, and I appreciate your sense of humor, I don't want Miranda to take away that we're not pleased by any way.
Well, that's what, yeah, I don't want.
I know that's not your intention.
I guess I'm curious as to how this wound up in Miranda's lap.
Miranda was
Because-
a senior class advisor last year, and so that kind of
I'm
was.
wondering if we,
Like a year.
I guess my question would be, why did we pick this year to, I mean, we've got, what is it, 3 class years or 4 class years that have all contributed. Maybe it's a matter of if there's one out there that actually represents what we want and it's $15,000, we wait a couple more years.
And I think that's a reasonable response. Let me ask her to sit down and. You know,
I don't want this to feel, and you know why,
That's
I
exactly-
don't want her to feel like this is all on her shoulder.
Understood.
And this, I have a question also, because right there on the invoice is dark brown patina on Cougar/Jaguar. So they can do a dark patina, they can do other types of patina. We know where it could come out not looking so
Dark.
dark.
So what I will do is I'll ask her to get some other examples, and what I'm also hearing you say is to look at different types of mediums. So
Yeah.
should we be looking at a concrete?
Right,
Yeah.
Jaguar that's gonna be outside, or should we be looking at, you mentioned the wooden bear earlier, should we be looking at a wooden bear?
Yeah,
indoor?
don't we have a wood Jaguar somewhere?
Yeah,
Right in
one out
front,
front.
right in
She
front,
knows.
you're right.
She knows, she knows.
Yeah.
So I think there are options, and I think to your point, Tim, what I would say is when we've become much more brand conscious as an organization over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think this was an example of, was an example of people seeing the decision afterwards and reacting to it, rather than having a proactive approach. And again, that is not
No.
a knock on
Right,
Miranda.
right.
It's just how it happened. And so our goal
It
is
is
to
what
make
it
sure
is.
that we
She
have a
shouldn't
more
own this
proactive,
by herself.
a more proactive approach.
Right.
We've got resources to support with that. Having said that, I think I got the feedback from the board to take to her, and we'll meet this week and we'll go from there.
Maybe they could look at, I mean, you can paint bronze, it's like anodizing aluminum.
I'm just concerned.
It actually, it's an etching primer that you put into it, but,
Does it last there?
well, that's the.
I mean,
the other
I don't
thing.
want Chris Graham out there with a paintbrush.
I kinda do.
They can-
You kind of do.
Yeah.
Here it does too, okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, so would you make,
I mean, that's just something to think about, is maybe they have a company that would,
And that was their recommendation, to be honest with you. I just did not have a lot of confidence in the durability of.
right, well,
bronze
that's
outside with
definitely a
paint
concern
on it, that it was gonna last and then look even worse
right.
as we go forward. So
I guess see how long they would guarantee it for. I don't know, if they say, oh yeah, it should last 5 years, well, that's not really worth it then, because then you're redoing it every.
Exactly. So I'll touch base with Miranda tomorrow, like, next day we'll go from there. But thank you for your feedback. I do appreciate it.
Even noises. Yes. All right, moving on, going into the minutes, I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the August 16th meeting as submitted.
So moved.
Done.
Second.
Done, thank you. Questions on those minutes? Any corrections or additions, deletions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Ostrander, quite the rave review on your audit, so what do you got for us?
Does anyone have any questions on the audit? Just,
Other than what you do in the sale.
I know, right? Small one. As Justin said, we did finish the year in good financial shape.
Yeah.
As you can see in your packet, we were able to put 700,000 from our excess funds into reserves, and those are listed out in motion for you. Other than that, it's
Can you remind everybody what the total cost of the capital project was when they hear $2,000 over budget?
yeah, it was broken into 3 phases and the total is 13.8 million. So it was just an error
That's pretty
on
good.
phase 3, so.
I was gonna say $2,000 on a $13 million project is
So I think it's also questionable as to whether it was actually over.
over,
versus-
right?
It was just miscoded, yeah,
Okay,
so it's corrected now, so.
gotcha. Even if it was over, $2,000 on a $13 million project is pretty good. Especially with all the delays and back orders and prices going up.
And we just submitted the final cost report for phase 3 last week, so that big project is now
done.
Paperwork wise anyways.
The punch list is ongoing.
Yeah.
Right.
Session, but
Right.
That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Nice work.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. Keep it up.
With that being said, I need a motion and a second to accept the external independent audit report that you just heard. Fred? Fred with a nod and Donnie with a second. Questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Need a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's reports. You'll see that there was a couple there from your initial meeting minutes that have been revised, the general fund and the special aid account. So,
Second.
yeah, thank you. Questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion and a second to approve the warrant reports. Thank you. A second? Scott? Questions on the warrant reports? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the funds transferred as listed below, 150,000 to the transportation reserve, 50,000 to the Genesee Valley District Retirement Contribution Reserve, and $500,000 to capital improvement reserve.
So,
Don? And a second. Buddy? Questions on that? All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the use of the reserves. $38,462.50 for the retirements of Ms. Spag and Ms. Lomack. Right?
second.
Eric, thank you. Questions on that?
Now, is that being deducted from 50,000?
50,000 replaces
Different,
that, right?
different
Different.
different reserves.
Yep.
Compensated absences is money that we set
Oh,
aside to
gotcha.
offset the cost of teachers' retirement. We'll get to contribute towards usually either a 403B or their health insurance. It pays for their unused days. They're sick in their physical person.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the appropriation status detail report for 7/1/2020 through 6/30/2021.
Make a motion on that.
Bev, thank you. Questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Need a motion to approve the revenue status report, same dates. Bev? A second,
Second.
I got Eric. Questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to accept the GB food stand report. Bud. And second, Fred, questions? No questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda and general action items. I need a motion and a second to approve the following 5 different consent agenda items. Miranda Gumtow and Josie Preston helping with the soccer program, the approval of excise of 6-foot portable salad bar from the cafeteria, excise list of Spanish textbooks, out of district student attendance by Oliver Burr Hatzel, McFall, Silas Preston, Adeline Palmer. And the adoption of the Board of Education goals as submitted. Josh? Buddy? Eric, I did ask about the board goals, they were put on the wrong letterhead.
No, I just put them on mine and read it in the boards as well. It was
We
not.
do have letterhead.
It wasn't
I
intentional.
didn't know.
Yeah, it was, it just, that was. So we usually, the two that letterheads we use for official are usually the boards, and they have mine name on the left side, the board members on the right, and the others is mine. So simply when I copy and pasted them, I wrote them out onto the letterhead, and I grabbed the wrong one.
Wrong.
So when we publish them, we'll make sure they're published.
Okay.
Only the board letterhead.
Is there any possible way, and I don't know who you would reach out to, I'm assuming the new superintendent at JT, where those excise Spanish books could be sent to JT if they lost theirs?
We absolutely would offer, no question about it.
I mean, I'm just thinking, I know it's been done with some other,
Most of the foreign language now is being taught online, as far as the resources are.
Okay.
Then these textbooks are over 20 years.
I'm just thinking of
But
the
we offer-
community in need, if we
Absolutely.
can help them in any way.
I think we don't want to throw anything away.
Right.
So if there's ability for us to share those, we absolutely will.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need, under personal action items, a motion to amend the motions of April 20th. Of Elena Grassdorf, Brooke Seitz, and Chelsea Dunham, and the following motions from June 14th of 2021. For Brittany Fuller, Kayla Marsh, Brian Ed III, Michelle Crawford, and Sabrina Schmidt. Their effective dates remain August 24th, 2020, but to include professional development days that they worked this past summer.
So
John? A second? Bev? Questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to accept the resignation of Emily Palmer as LOAT advisor and the coordinator for phys ed and special areas effective August 19th, 2021. Buddy and Brett. Questions on that? All those in favor? All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to appoint. Let me back up. Did we have a motion to accept the resignation flat out as a teacher?
Just as a teacher, we had it last.
Okay,
month,
on the last,
board meeting.
okay, that's what I wanted to,
Teacher.
this is for everything else.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. I need a motion to appoint Sue Ann Lindquist as a Spanish low teacher. You can see below, she has permanent certification. My understanding is she came to us from Olean after 26 years in the Olean district.
Move on now.
I got Josh and Buddy. Questions on Sue Ann? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to accept the resignation of Erica Grantier as teacher's aide effective August 23rd.
So
Eric, thank you.
Second.
Don? Thank you. Questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to appoint Erica Grantier as a long-term substitute as a teacher's assistant, filling in for in the math intervention. Is that correct? Math intervention?
Yes, she's. Like that, so.
Fred? Fred with the motion, do I have a second? Bev? Questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The motion to appoint long-term substitute teachers aide of Teresa Peets to a non-probationary position, starting effective September 1st.
So
Thank you. Second. Okay. Questions on that? All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The motion to accept the resignation of Kelly Gordon as a teacher's aide effective August 23rd. Eric?
Second.
Thanks, Don. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to appoint a long-term sub, Amber McCutcheon, to replace Kelly as the teacher's aide.
So move.
Josh? Beth? Thank you. Questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to appoint a long-term substitute teacher's aide, Courtney Swagger, replaces Rachel Winterhalter, who resigned last board meeting.
So
Don?
Second.
Eric, thank you. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. I need a motion to accept the resignation of Pam Russell as a cleaner to accept the position as teacher's aide effective August 31st of this past year. Buddy? Josh, thank you. Questions on that? All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion to appoint teacher's aide of Pam Russell effective September 1st, 2021. Bud?
Second.
Josh, thank you. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to appoint Kim Lehman to the position of cleaner effective September 14th.
So
Second.
We got Eric. Any questions on that? All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion to accept the resignation of Heidi Masingo as senior standing coordinator effective July 26th.
So move.
Eric? Buddy? Questions? That's a year appointment anyways, correct?
It is.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve substitutes. There's quite a list there. Nicole Butler, Belmont, Debbie Marsh, Vanessa Manka, Chelsea Hall, Michaela Edmister, Michelle Zlomek, Carrie Hunt, Mackenzie Edmister, Raleigh Duttweiler, and Ryan McKnight.
So moved.
Josh
Second.
and Don. I have a question. Raleigh and Ryan were already approved substitutes, weren't they? Last year.
In the past.
It was last year, they haven't been approved this year.
So this is.
So that's a yearly appointment for substitutes.
That's
Well,
not top list.
They made the list in advance of
Okay.
our conversation
Okay.
around doing this once. and being done.
Once and being done.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
And Ryan actually stepped down
yeah, Ryan resigned.
last
Oh,
year,
did he?
so we really had
One
One of the things you have to look at is every year Pam sends them like jobs for subs.
Yeah.
and They have to commit or not commit.
I got you.
So that's what part of that is when they don't commit, then that's when you can see that be reappointed.
So are we
The same with volunteers.
looking at having the same conversation with substitutes as we are volunteers?
Yes,
Okay.
once, then we.
Once approved.
Once approved, you're approved, rather than redoing this. Unless again, they refuse to, they communicate to us, I'm not.
That they're done. Okay. Just if you weren't aware, I know a few of us had discussions regarding like Brian. We know Brian's going to volunteer for athletic, assistant coaching, helpers, volunteers, whatever. Once he's approved, we need to go back and every sports season approve Brian as a volunteer for the school. My thought is no, but as long as it's got a coach that's supervising them that agrees.
Yeah, as long as
What's your
somebody,
thoughts?
as long as somebody looks at it,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not, they hate to.
they still have to be signed off by coach. Yeah, Brockway would be a sports, a principal for volunteering in the
Ultimately-
classroom, right?
Ultimately, they're approved by the board, which means they're identified,
Right.
protected by the district, and they're under the responsibility of the district to supervise them, whether it's a coach by proxy, a teacher by proxy. So there's, in my opinion, there's not a reason to do this on an annual
Yeah.
basis. Having Ron fill out 3 applications a year, for example. is-
Right, you know,
Not that we do that, but it's the idea. Or coming from the board.
Just saying, if
3 times a year.
someone has a mental breakdown at some point, in
Well,
time,
right.
maybe you don't want them back.
We would certainly hold them.
As long as somebody looks at that and says,
You mentioned that meeting prior.
Yeah.
A week ago. It's one group's paid, the other one's volunteers.
Correct.
Right.
That makes a difference.
Well, and again, so if you, like, we don't approve Riley Detweiler every year to be a math teacher.
Right.
I mean, we do it once.
Right.
So that's the same concept. It's, but the bus driver, CSE, they're appointed once. You're appointed once as a substitute. If your status changes to go from a substitute teacher aide to a substitute cleaner, then we would come back and say that we need to approve that person to be a cleaner.
Each year we get a refreshed list of substitute
Right.
teachers.
Yes. Yep. And we still would keep the board
Right, right.
on there, but it just wouldn't be an approval process.
Now, a volunteer, does that need to be approved by the board?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
For each sport?
Yep, because the board indemnifies the volunteer, means it protects them with our insurance. If something happens.
Even
to
though
them.
they've been a volunteer.
not every year.
prior to
That's
that?
not
We're
each year,
saying
just
we're
one
trying to
time,
do
one
away with the whole year.
Okay,
just
we
one
haven't
time.
done, we haven't done.
We're moving towards that.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, as long as our insurance is good with that.
Here's a question I'd like to know, just 'cause I don't know the answer. As in with a pistol permit, somebody gets a DWI, the guy that signs the pistol permit knows that he got a DWI, now he's gotta bring him in and have that conversation. Do we get, as a district,
Yes.
somebody gets arrested, we get notification?
Notification.
Okay, that's all I want.
Timeliness is not necessarily
The fast,
the best, but we get notification.
okay, that's all I want.
Anyone who's certified, that's teacher certification,
Mhm.
teacher assistant certification, also New York State certification, and their fingerprint, which is a mandate.
Right.
It's reported.
Because Gavin has to be fingerprinted to be a lifeguard to work in the school system. When you find out if he was arrested, then you could let me know if he was.
Right. Again, anybody would be an example. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as a certified person, again, full-time employee.
Gotcha.
substitutes probably does.
Okay. Any other questions on that list? We're on the whole process on what the list itself. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion, second to appoint the following coordinators and advisors. You can see the list down through there. These were vacancies or new positions.
So
Yeah. And I saw Bev looking at me. Any questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? I abstain. Okay. 6 yea, no opposition, and 1 abstain. I need a motion and a second to appoint after-school program advisors, Lindsay Simpson, Brianna Boge, and Dan Anger, doing Minecraft Club, Heidi White and Lindsay Simpson doing a sewing club, Nicole Wetchy and Sabrina Wetchy doing a cooking club, and Dan Anger doing workout club. So, Jared? Second.
Second.
Thank you. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion and a second to approve the after-school program substitute aides, and that would be Pam Russell and Jen Green.
So moved.
Josh? Second, Deb? Questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries. Need a motion to accept the resignation of our nurse, Catherine Pratt, effective September 24th, 2024. Button.
Second.
Thank you. Questions on Kat's resignation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion and a second to appoint school nurse Kristen Fuller as a school nurse effective
To be determined.
to be determined. I'm sure yet she has to give notice. See everything else there, and she would replace Kat Pratt. Fred? Second?
Second.
Don? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion and a second to appoint King Black as a maintenance mechanic, would replace Chuck Larrabee. Effective date on or about October 4th. So, Eric? Josh, thank you. Questions?
How do I get such a cool name?
Supposed to be maintenance assistant.
Maintenance assistant.
or
Did I say-
service.
Oh,
Yeah, I
it's-
know it says it in it, but if it just can't edit it.
Yeah. I have a motion and a second to appoint King Black as a maintenance assistant, not mechanics assistant.
Oh,
That's
Eric and Josh.
Yeah, mine.
Description tools.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to appoint long-term substitute for grade teacher Kirsten Sawyer, effective October 4th through on or about February 18th. Don?
Second.
Eric, thank you. Questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. I need a motion and a second to create and appoint a second school nurse position. If the position is created, we would appoint Amanda McKinley, again, to be determined as her effective date. Now? Buddy? Questions?
We had Chopper say the same
gonna affect the taxpayers by using these funds.
Yes. Plans to use our federal code fund, also to offset the costs of that position.
I think it's at the point now where there's so much going on with COVID and all the health requirements for the school, including the sports physicals and everything else, that I can't believe more schools haven't looked at increasing I mean, we had a good number applying, so.
Very good candidate.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Haley Jordan as a special education teacher effective October 9th. Josh, thank you. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I need a motion and a second to approve the memo of agreement with GBEA. That was, everybody should have got it, right? The updated one
Yes.
regarding the sports merger with Belvets. So, there. Oh. Questions? Once things got cleared up and everything was talked out, it made sense.
That was
Yep.
fun. And puts in writing what we talked about all
Yeah,
through the process.
pretty much in the contract, it just spells it out. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Information discussion, done.
Our next two board meetings are October 18th and November 15th. And then you have a copy of our open enrollment. As of the first, we've had a few students, 6 of them, you have to see those numbers in front of you. Then really the big piece topic for discussion really has been around opening school. We've had a phenomenal opening this year. And to be honest, the challenges just keep coming. But our staff has really responded very, very well to it. So we've had the opening day, we had COVID in our pre-K classroom. And our staff came together and we were able to manage that. And now we have an RSV outbreak in our elementary school. So we have a number of sick kids.
People wonder
sick
why we
families.
need another nurse.
So the reality is right now is today we had over 80 students who are out today, which is really high. And we have a large number of staff members who were actually impacted because of their children being ill. So, you know, say that I am concerned about the health and safety of our children would be an understatement. I'm very concerned right now. We are taking the COVID protocols very seriously. As of Friday, I had to report the number of vaccinated, unvaccinated staff members. We currently have 50 unvaccinated staff members. And then we are moving forward to partner with the county to fulfill the mandate from the state of New York for testing. What we're being told is that the testing supplies more than likely will not be available until early October. I'm having conversations with anyone who wants to, needs to, about our valuing our employees and how important they all are.
Yeah.
And the last thing we want to do is lose any of them to a philosophical difference around COVID, because they're too important to maintain the operations of our children. So that's my goal, is to continue to have those conversations, and we will do whatever we can to support this process to make it as easy and painless as possible, and to minimize the time commitment so that we can ensure that we're focusing on what we should be, which is our children. And, I wanted to know if you were hearing anything that I should be aware of as the superintendent. It's not getting to me around the first couple of weeks of school. Questions that you had, or if there were concerns around our opening.
Haven't heard anything negative. I think everybody was happy to be back.
Yes.
Obviously, the mask mandate and all that is what it is, but I think people, I haven't heard anybody absolutely appalled that they had to do it. I think they all knew that it was coming.
One of the things I have that really appreciated about our communities is that when I read about other communities and their reactions to a wide variety of topics, whether it's COVID or masking or critical race theory or whatever that may be, our community continues to partner with us. And they continue to ask questions and then they get answers, and we do it in a civil fashion. We do it in a way that's respectful. And I think the focus remains where it should be, is that our kids offer the best experience possible for them and our staff members. The last topic I have, if there's nothing more on opening, is I sent you, I believe last month, a draft procedure for speaking at public participation in our board meetings. Just wanted to revisit it and to see if now was the time for feedback on that, or if you wanted to wait and table that to the next meeting to give you an opportunity to read through it and tear it apart. I will tell you, this is something that is kind of a compilation of Olean and Randolph's. It's predominantly Randolph's policy. I liked it because I thought it really spelled out really clearly how when you get on the agenda, what the topics are. It certainly doesn't limit anyone from the agenda in any way. But again, this is a sample. If you're looking at something different as a board, I'm just looking for direction from you as to what you would like.
I read through it. I want to read through it one more time because I can't remember now because everything else has been going on.
It's been busy. And again,
I'd love to move on it next meeting.
That's absolutely fine. So what I would say is we have our agenda meeting in early October.
Yes.
If any of you have questions or feedback that you want to get to me in advance of that, if you read through it, you say, hey, I don't either understand, I don't like, or I'm okay with this. And again, if I don't hear from you, my assumption is that you're okay with it.
Yeah.
And then when we meet at the agenda meeting, that can be certainly something we discuss.
Yeah.
If there are changes we need to make it. And that would give me time to certainly present
Absolutely.
agenda coming out. So we didn't schedule
September or October.
It usually was one in October. We didn't schedule it because we thought the school board conference.
Right.
So when we remember we do this calendar in like March or April.
Right.
And so that's why it's not on. So January is the next work session that's scheduled.
So hoping we can get together as a board and hash it out person to person.
We certainly can do that.
I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I think we put all our heads together and look at it through individually.
You're talking about this?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a work session in advance of our next meeting?
That's what I
Want to meet at 5 o'clock? Do you think it'll take longer than half an hour?
I would say that gives us the opportunity to, see everybody's concerns individually.
I'm looking to schedule an athletics committee meeting in advance of the next board meeting at 4 o'clock. So if we can keep that to an hour. That would allow us.
That's possible.
So Pam, when we do the agenda for next meeting, we'll have a work session starting at 5 o'clock and then we'll move into the general at 5:30. That's okay with the rest of the board. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
For the October 18th meeting. And that's why. Is there anything from you, Fred?
Well, in our Ford paper, I see where Belfast has the cameras in the gym.
Yep.
Do we need a special website in order to get onto that?
It's the same one. You guys are using this NH.
Yeah.
They're using the same program we are, which is, I believe, free. If you go to Belfast, I'm not sure how they have their setup. I'll have to look. Not 100% sure. Zamboni? is that right?
Yeah.
I'm almost positive, Fred, that it is free. What I will do is I will check tomorrow and make sure the directions are communicated very effectively on where to find that. For the Belfast one, as to ours as well.
Is that the same one you had last year?
Yep.
For basketball, yeah. I got into it.
And they have it on the soccer field too, but
Yeah.
the question came up the very
I got
first.
into it.
The very first soccer game, I was standing there next to Chauncey Weaver from Belfast, and he wondered if it was up, and he went looking for it. It wasn't, so he did some investigating. Apparently, they had a broken part. They were waiting for the part to come in, and then it was going to be up and going. But theirs was, it wasn't because they weren't broadcasting. because it's broken.
Right.
Ours right now seems to be working pretty well, so at least I was in the gym watching it on the phone, but it seemed to be working pretty well.
Anything else?
I don't get to respond to that email that he sent out about doing the invite.
Yeah.
I want to put that out for work session.
Sure.
It's just, you know,
These new stuff?
been 6 years on the board, we've hired a lot of people that I never really got to meet until 2 months later. And they say, hey, I'm a new nurse or I'm
Yeah.
To me, it's like they have a
Face to face.
What I will say to you, buddy, is, talking to him earlier about this, is that I always invite everybody to come. Typically teaching staff, certified teaching staff nurse. I don't invite, you know, typically I don't invite all of the teacher aides and bus drivers and all these because there's a wide variety. Certainly can change their practice if you want. Yeah, I'm not, no problem.
This one was a little late notice,
This
in my
one-
opinion, but
It was, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
when you go through the interviews, I mean, I don't know how you do it, but you can almost say like the village, that's, you know, can you be available for this board meeting, so in case you get hired, that you can.
What I do is I do let them know during the interview process, what the process for hiring look like. And I obviously, because we interviewed on Friday.
Yeah.
And I offered jobs today. So it was a tight turnaround. Again, we didn't have a board meeting until the 18th of October. So I really wanted to get those pieces out so that we had a nurse or two nurses.
Yeah.
So interaction of new employees, board.
would it be, to answer his email, would it be beneficial sometime in October? Wouldn't have to be board meeting night, we're filling that up quick. To have we have hired a ton of new staff just in the last 6 months to have a social hour, you know, in the cafeteria or something like that. At least until we get the policy or the process.
We could pick a Friday and do it at 3:30 and off duty.
Some of us have jobs outside of the
I'm just saying, there are options other than the cafeteria.
Yeah, well-
We could do it at 4:05.
405 would work.
I'm just throwing ideas out there. I
think you know my stance on it.
Maybe we better not.
Yeah, everything is all moving. We have word retreat, ghost over there.
Yeah.
Off duty.
Oh, good.
All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. But second. Shaking her head, yes, let's get out. 7:08, I can still catch a little volleyball. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I hear they have